Player 2 has entered the game.
All right, hey everybody, what's going on? It's Player 2. How are my survivors doing? I'm here with Pathfinder Plays. Go ahead and say hi, Path.
Hello, everybody.
So we have quite a bit of exciting Dead Matter information to talk about. You know, the state of the game, dev blogs, recent updates, everything that's been going on with the most recent one we got. But I do think it's first important that I address why I basically dropped off the radar for the last few months first. I mean, I had several kind inquiries in my inbox to, ask if I was all right. One person thought I died of COVID, which we spoke about before, but I want to thank everyone who reached out. No, everything's fine. I was just affected by COVID mainly due to the fact that I was doing in-home consultations for solar power, which drastically became more difficult when all this started. And then they laid off many of us in the Charlotte, North Carolina district because there was no appointments. So for the last few months, I've just been traveling a lot, seeing family, doing odd jobs with my other skills to get us by. But I'm starting a new work from home job next week. So I'm back in business and ready to dive into some Dead Matter. Also, forewarning, we've already done this podcast once. We did it yesterday. But because I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing when it comes to OBS Studio, because I'm all new to this whole computer thing in general, I'm a PS4 guy originally, we didn't record Pathfinder's audio. It just recorded mine. So we're going to try this again on his computer. I know that he's excited to redo this entire thing.
I'm very excited to redo the entire thing.
But yeah. We just wanted to, I guess, go over some of the basic stuff, the state of the game, what we've kind of been thinking, our thoughts. So I guess state of the game wise, we'll start there. What do you think, Path?
All right, first off, you're doing a fantastic job replicating the exact same conversation that we had yesterday. So hats off to you. It's like Groundhog Day.
I may or may not have memorized the first part because I liked it so much.
Really? Well, it's just it's like the second round at a flipping buffet, man. It's just as good the second go around. Good job. Anyways, state of the game. I am thoroughly impressed with the current state of the game. I mean, we see it every week in the weekly updates that they're putting out, building up to the closed alpha release, first for partners, then for regular backers. And everything is just looking phenomenal. We have, in the most recent one, hints at what we can find around the world for base fortifications and traps like the barbed wire. They showed off the water with the above water and underwater and swimming and how it looks around the environment, and that looks amazing. We get a peek at the different walls and solar panels, running animations, tons of different things just from this one update alone, and that's obviously not counting the previous ones as well. The game looks gorgeous, it looks fluid. There is still some like FPS drops whenever they get into like some PvP confrontations in at least the latest dev vlog that they did at the very end.
Right. Yep.
But that's just things that will have to get worked out the more people play. And I'm pretty sure they already said that was fixed, but until we actually see solid PvP with no FPS, I'm going to reserve judgment on that. Nothing against developers, I'm just a picky person, I suppose. But yeah, overall, man, I'm very happy with the state of the game.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. There's been a lot coming out recently that's, really intrigued, I think, all of us in particular. And I guess we really didn't get into this in podcast version 1, I guess we'll call it. But the barbed wire was really kind of interesting to me because usually in survival games, the things that you build up fortifications with or build up your base with are all crafted, all of it. So
Yeah.
With barbed wire, none of it's going to be crafted. You're going to have to go locate it in certain parts of the world. And that may lead, open to doing that with other things that you can find and place in your base that are usable.
Oh yeah, I mean, they say right here, obviously, like you said, the barbed wire trap can't be crafted. You have to actually find these, but they can be placed anywhere around the base, and it gives bleed damage to people who trying to break in. And I'm assuming that would also cause bleed damage on you. I don't know why it wouldn't, so you should probably be careful,
right.
As well whenever you try to probably walk through there. I don't know if it's a system where you can like hook it up and then place it whenever you're gone or something like that, or if you place it then it's permanently down for good. But
that's a good point.
Yeah.
because if it's, it degrades over time, the more and more the players, run into it and stuff like
Yeah.
that, you might have to replace it. Yeah, that's a good possibility to have. I felt the same way about the electric fence, like what all goes into that. One of the major parts that I thought about the fence was the solar controller on the side of it, whether that's just the power for the controller or literally the entire fence is powered by a solar panel. Because if that's the case, you can focus your generator or whatever form of power you have on other things and not have to focus on that fence.
It's from looking at the picture, it is looking like it would power the entire electrical grid on the fence, because I mean the box itself is labeled electric fence controller, and there's an on and off switch. So that would imply, at least at first glance, that you can turn the electricity on or off on the entire fence. So if you're inside and you're doing work or whatever, placing other traps or messing with your greenhouse or garden that you have, you can turn it off if you're in there and don't want to get yourself hurt, and then turn it on whenever you leave.
True. And also I thought about that too with the door. If the door is going to be, because it's metal, it looks like a metal door in the picture, is it going to be electrified as well, or is it just going to be the fence around it?
I mean, you see the little electric wires going across the fences. It looks like they goes almost to the door.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Does.
I mean, is it coincidence that they chose a metal door to display an electric fence, or was it purposeful? I guess that's the question. Because if the door itself is electric, that would be awesome. But also, I mean, depending on the door that you have, it may kind of defeat the purpose. Like if the door can't be electrified along with the wall, I mean, then what's the point, of having electric fence? Because then people could either just pick the lock, or there's noisier versions of going through a door. But if the only alternative is hopping through a fence, then, and shoot, man, depending on where you're located, if you're not in an urban area surrounded by lots of zombies, then I mean, being noisy going through a door probably isn't that big of a deal anyways. So I would hope that the door itself, if it's a metal, would be conductive.
Yeah, I think one of the other ways they said you could do it is, I swear I read this at one point, that you could attach like a winch from a vehicle onto the door and like
really?
rip it off. Yeah, I read that a long time ago. Probably one of the first blogs I read, I think, on the game.
Yo, if that's true, that would be dope. That would be so cool.
So that would be that could cause some interesting gameplay. I'd be excited to see where that goes. But yeah, I mean, it just opens up so many possibilities for crafting your base. I mean, because a lot of the people that are going to be playing this game are coming from DayZ or Scum, where the base building is pretty, you build wooden walls and a wooden roof and area and stuff like that. You're not building off of an existing building. So there's a lot that it looks like they're adding to make it more creative and make more player freedom into the crafting side of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the game has more crafting in it than I originally thought, because like I previously discussed with you, the game wasn't, I don't believe, pushed out as a crafting survival game like all the other survival games that we have on the market right now, for the most part. It was, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that you can't build your own base, because that's just a huge portion of what it means to be a crafting survival game. Being able to actually build your own base wherever you want and add to it the more resources you get. So you take that away, you take away a huge portion of the crafting. But they're bringing in building fortifications, building defenses, building traps. There are structures you can build, like the watchtower and some fences, as well as like a greenhouse, I believe you can build. And so you can also maintain those, and also with like vehicles as well, you can construct or rather I should say repair vehicles that you find, and that will increase the older the server gets. You'll be more likely to find a suitable car that doesn't need to be repaired, at least not substantially, at the beginning of the server life, than say 6 months down the road whenever the world starts to degrade a bit. So there's plenty of crafting, along with weapons as well. I feel like we're going to have a whole bunch of Negans from The Walking Dead running around with barbed wire bats.
Yep. Yeah, I already feel like that. I've had so many times that people have asked me, "Can you lure zombies into the back of trucks?" I'm like, "Okay."
So many people, and I mean, no, you can't. I mean, theoretically you can, but in practice, probably not.
It's not going to work out the way you think it's going to.
It's not going to work out the way you think it will. And same with luring zombies to a player's base. Unless you actually stay there, I feel like once the noise stops, they'll probably just wander back to where they came from.
Yeah. I mean, more than likely the AI will probably be set up that way.
Yeah, so that would be my initial guess for how the zombies will actually work.
Yep.
But
and I mean, back with the base stuff that we were talking about, it really does seem like there's going to be a lot more homesteading than we get in a lot of the survival games that we played. Not that there's not a lot of base stuff that you can do in DayZ, Deadside even, or Scum, but there's going to be a lot more crafting. There's workbenches that you can work on things. There's ways to customize your home, build around it, add water, food, grow your own food, all this different stuff that I think that it needs to be at the level they're going to put it in this type of game. We need a game that's a survival game like this where you can do all that stuff, because the people who are generally playing these games are big fans of games like Project Zombie, where there is a lot of homesteading. There is a lot of barricading your home, making sure that you have all your food put in the right place in the fridge or somewhere where it's not going to spoil, which all that stuff, it sounds like, is going to actually be implemented in Dead Matter as well.
Oh yeah, and like I said in my second to most recent video, urban homesteading is really popular, and it's growing in popularity in America, and it's already been a thing in, say, Alaska for a while, although not necessarily urban, just more like general homesteading, because they like to go out to the wilderness regions and just kind of like build their own plot and survive off the land that way. Urban homesteading is essentially the same thing, but as implied in the name, in an urban environment. So you can have a townhome or something else in the city, but you can have your garden in the backyard. You can collect your water in water containers and then insulate them like Dead Matter is able to give us. You can create your own greenhouse and find yourself an infrared heater to maintain your vegetation all throughout the different seasons of the year. So Dead Matter is really leaning into the urban homesteading notion in the game, and it's really exciting because having that kind of flexibility to survive in whatever climate wherever you want on the map really does increase exploration. It gives you incentives to do so, and it just increases the potential for what you can do in the game, because you're not going to be restricted to any area to build a base. You can find any building you find, you can technically live there. From a shack on the side of the road, which I wouldn't advise because it's tiny and highly visible, to a city complex somewhere in one of the main areas, to a suburban area or a trailer park, or even an RV, any pre-existing building, any car that could act as a building like an RV. I mean, you can live in it, or even in maybe like a trailer that you can tow behind a truck or something. I mean, these are the kinds of things, or the train, whenever that gets implemented as well.
Yeah, I've heard mention of that as well too. But yeah, it just seems like, for me, the biggest thing that these games have been missing, this open world survival genre has been missing, is, and it's really hard to be dealt with because players are players and they're always going to be players, and that's it. But getting people not just to kill on sight, and getting people not, to actually want to cooperate with each other in a realistic type of way. Like in an actual zombie survival scenario, people aren't running around killing on sight. I mean, obviously they are going to be around because we've all seen The Walking Dead.
But those are the ones who will take advantage of the situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just for their own gain. But generally, people will want to team up, and there's strength in numbers.
Right, and we need, that's why this kind of game needs rewards and reasons to work together. So I mean, I like the fact that with the fact that a lot of your time is going to be spent homesteading, and literally they've gone into detail about how you have to prepare for the winter and make sure that your food's ready to go for that. And, you know, winterize your vehicle basically, because when the roads freeze over, your engine might be harder to start, and all this little stuff, these little attention to detail things are what's going to, I think, set the game apart from other survival games in the same genre. Not to mention the different skills that we're going to have going into the game. Just like when you play Project Zomboid, you're going to be working on, you know, I read it through a few of them. It was a long time ago, but they have things like the ranger, a construction worker. So you have all these different skill sets that you can come up with and say, hey, you can't build that base fortification, but I can. I'll build it for you, but you're a cook, so you give me some really good nutritional protein foods that you made, and I'll, you know, build you some fortifications if you can't do that yet.
Yeah, exactly. You can even if you were to come across a hostile person or a hostile group, you can literally bargain for your life by giving them value that they don't currently have. So if you're a mechanic and they have a vehicle that needs to be fixed, if you're a cook or a chef and you can create some really nutritious foods for them, if you can actually add value to them, you can use that in your skill set to bargain for your life, and that would also help kind of devalue KOSing, because now they're actually losing something by killing you. They don't get the things that you have in terms of your skill sets and what you can do for them. May it be kind of an indentured servitude thing at first? Sure, but who knows? What starts as indentured servitude in the post-apocalypse may end up being a very great friendship.
Careful, you're going to piss off the Irish.
Sorry, Irish.
Yeah, sorry, Irish friends out there.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I completely agree. I just think that it leaves for so much more opportunity to cooperate. And I don't like to, personally, I like to play PvE for the most part. Not only PvE, but for the most part, that's what I usually stick to. I don't want to be on a PvE only server, but I'd like to be able to be on a server that's for both PvE and PvP, but where people aren't just, you know, literally every single person, because that's what a lot of DayZ and a lot of Scum and all that stuff is kind of turned to. Deadside, I mean, that's what it is.
I mean, that's literally what it is. It's a PvP game.
That is what it is. So,
Yeah.
but, and that's fine, but that's not because I'm not going to sit here and be one of those people, I just suck at it, so I don't like it. No, that's not it. I just really enjoy the role-playing side of the game.
Yeah, well, whenever you have games like this, or even DayZ, they're not intended to be PvP games. I think that the focus turns to PvP whenever there's a substantial lack of content or incentive in the game to help players see the value in not just killing each other. Like, the game has to be able to offer something more than just the excitement of fighting another player. So with DayZ, I mean, the zombies aren't really a threat. You can find things if you look long enough, but I mean, all that gets kind of drab after a while. But killing other players and taking their gear, that never gets old. But if they were to enable or install like an occupational system in DayZ that gives people different skill sets around the world, I mean, that would just change the dynamic, because people are going to want to know what you can do. So instead of finding a person on the East Coast and immediately shotgunning them and taking their potatoes that they find, you would then probably at least have the hesitation to be like, I really wonder what this guy can do, because I saw a broke down car over there, and maybe, just maybe, he's a mechanic and he can fix it, and then we can just go somewhere. You know, then that's going to be what it's like. At least that's what I envision it's going to be like in Dead Matter, where you have, number one, the lethality of the zombies, which they always talk about. So I believe that they're really true in intending the zombies to be the primary threat. But then you also have the players themselves with their different skill sets, talking and what they can bring to the table to help you survive. And so those are the two main things I think that will really help separate this game from other games in terms of keeping players from just going strictly to PvP, because there's more things to experience out there other than just PvP.
Absolutely. I mean, I think another big key part to that isn't just the making sure there's rewards for cooperating together. But repetition is a massive problem with what you said, because I mean, once it gets to the point where you've got everything, there's nothing to be surprised by. Like most people, I think almost every person that plays DayZ knows where everything is, what it does, how many, zombies are there, generally how many people hang out there, and where all the spots are. But if you're able to add in, new stuff, constant updates, and not even just that, but the zombies. Because I mean, when you go and play DayZ and Scum, it's okay. There's one zombie that always hangs out over there. There's about 4 or 5 that are over there. But if Dead Matter does what it says it's going to do, then there potentially could be, zombies over here. There's different locations. There's hordes that'll walk around together. Like, what was that game? Days Gone. Did you play Days Gone? Oh, sorry. It's a fantastic game. It's single player, which I mean, every now and then single player, gets me. But yeah, you'll just be walking around the map, and there'll just be a massive, I mean, like 100 zombies, just like all kind of jumping over each other and walking around like a little weird thing. And if they had stuff like that, that's amazing, because usually what it means when you see that is you're around a place of interest or something that's pretty cool. So you instead of just being, well, screw that, I'm out, you're like, oh, well, I should probably look around for whatever it is, but I have to be quiet, because if I set off an alarm or something, all that 100 zombies is coming my way. If Dead Matter has things like that in game, that's going to make players so much more interested in the zombies rather than just being a small little minor threat.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, so a couple points based on what you said. We'll go with the latter one first. I'm pretty sure they have talked about having hordes of zombies in the game, and I remember, I think it's Gunschlinger who talked about in the Discord about having like over 100 zombies on the screen at one time with little no FPS drop. And just huge, large swaths of zombies. And I mean, that's even adding in the gore system that they have. So we're able to have, they have the capabilities right now. It will be interesting to see how they implement that on a full server of players, at least in the closed alpha. But right now, for testing purposes, with just the developer on the map with them, they have that capability. And then the other thing that you mentioned was, in terms of DayZ and getting bored and the predictability of the map, what would happen to DayZ if key points of interest on each server were procedurally generated and they changed?
Exactly.
So I mean,
that's so brilliant. That's so. I mean, you should probably talk to the creators of DayZ, because these are some pretty good ideas.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, imagine like okay, obviously, like maybe the military bases would have to, like the key locations may have to stay the same, but maybe if there's like locations that people know will have that top tier loot that aren't necessarily chained down to a military base or a location. Like, think of like a location as in DayZ, if it were to act similar to like those random helicopter crash spawns, and people would have to search them out. Like, people look for helicopter crash spawns because they got that top tier loot. They got the MVGs. Some servers have thermals. They got the I mean, goodness, they have some of the best weapons and helmets and military items in the game. So if you were to add that in an actual location that will encourage people to search around, I mean, dude, it would be huge. And that's what Dead Matter's doing with like the mines or the bunkers.
Bunkers, yeah, they did say they're gonna be procedurally generated, which everybody should know. But for anybody that doesn't know what that means, basically, you can go into the same bunker, same area, and it's not going to be the same layout every single time that you go down there. Which, when they said that, it did have me question. I don't know if you already know the answer to this, but whether it's going to be instanced or not.
I don't know the answer. I would assume that it's not going to be instanced.
Right.
Just because, I mean, it would be built into the server anyways, and if the server was to wipe, I'm assuming that it's just a simple algorithm to reset the layout of the bunker along with it, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, that's super exciting. Like, I can't wait to go down in there, because that's going to be some top tier loot areas. And you go down into one bunker and you're like, cool, okay, so I got this whole layout, I got it down. And then you go into another, it's completely different, and it has completely different enemies, whether it's because in the closed alpha, everybody I hope knows they're not going to really be a lot of roaming NPCs. I don't think there's going to be any roaming NPCs at the time. So whether that's looters or stuff like that, but when we get into early access, there probably will be zombies or looters or something down there to cause us some massive problems in the bunkers.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they said the bunkers are going to be a highly contestable area. I think that they said that some of the main PvP areas are going to be like the subway in the main urban areas.
Yep.
The bunker, maybe the airfield as well, because there's planes there, obviously, and that's
so brilliant.
If you're able to find a plane, I remember I think I was listening to one of the interviews, or maybe I heard it on the Discord or something, but like one of the developers said that if you find a plane, like a small little 1 or 2 person seater plane early in the game, I mean, you essentially win at that point, because you can fly to wherever the heck you want, land in a area that has limited landing space because it's small, pack up whatever you want, and fly somewhere else and just start fortifying a base. It just eliminates so much foot travel.
Not to mention helicopters.
Especially
helicopters. Get to even crazier places. And that's actually kind of exciting, because I don't know if everybody knows this, but when we're talking about the main city, they're saying there'll be skyscrapers and stuff like that. That's why they made it a whole separate area. Like originally when we were having that huge map debacle, when I first came into this whole dead matter sphere of, it's not going to be one whole fluid map. It's going to be, a section off part for the city. They're doing it so that they can actually have entire massive buildings and skyscrapers that are enterable. That way you're not, like usually when you play games like this, there'll be massive buildings, like in Deadside. If anybody's played that recently, there's a big area where there's a lot of tall buildings. You can't go in them. They're just there for looks, which at that point, it's like, why even have them there? But in Dead Matter, they're saying that you actually will be able to enter the buildings and maybe go through rooms and check. So if you can get a helicopter and land on top of one of the skyscrapers where nobody else is able to get to at that point, you can just, go down, grab all your stuff, head back up to the helicopter, not even have to go outside with however many zombies are out there, and take your loot back home that way.
Exactly, man. So, I mean, the helicopters are probably going to be one of the most valuable items to have in the game.
Right.
In terms of vehicles, I think the first one that they said that's going to be implemented besides like cars and trucks and RVs, is going to be the train. Just because it's so easy to do. It's on a track going like one way or the other way. So they said it would be pretty simple to do. But you can put that, they said you can change the direction of the tracks, like with those little like levers that they have. And you can like disconnect it from like the main travel track and put it behind like the train station and just park it there, and that'll be like your little house or whatever. And so you can
Which is insane.
Yeah,
it's basically like you can be Negan. Like you can if you wanted to control supply routes or where it goes, where it doesn't, and maybe if you just control. I don't know how it works yet, but if you just control the main depot, the train depot, then you can control where everything goes, who's able to access it. Same goes for the power supply, which I found out way early on into reading into Dead Matter, is that, there will be like power plants or power stations where you can literally go or maybe even substations, where you can go and turn off the power in certain parts of the area, whether it's a city or town, or give some places power. So if you have you and your group, your clan have control of that, like you basically control everybody's power for the area, they will have to cooperate with you if they want stuff or overpower you, which once again, amazing role playing.
Oh yeah, huge role play potential. But for those of you who aren't really into groups, and you like to be a nomad, but you also don't want to live in the wilderness, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's also going to be solar panels in there as well, and there's going to be individual generators. So just because a group owns the power plant and you don't feel like fighting them for it or maintaining it, you can simply just go find a solar panel somewhere or a power generator, hook it up to your house, and be a rebel that way.
True. And I think that's fun too, because that might go back into the skills. You may have to have the know-how to do that. So if you plan on playing Nomad, make sure that you're choosing a skill or I think it's prior occupation is the word they use, that coincides with being a lone survivor, basically.
It's true. I want to do a playthrough where I make myself like deaf and blind and like mute and like super loud footed, and just play through the game and just see how long I can last.
Yeah, you've definitely played Project Zomboid. So yeah,
Heck yeah,
if
dude.
anybody hasn't played Project Zomboid, whenever you start the game, they have so much detail. So you choose your prior occupation. You also get to choose, perks and basically little things that are going to help you throughout the game. And then also, things that are going to make the game harder. And if you choose more of the things that are going to make the game harder, then it'll give you more points towards other things. So you can be all these different things be wrong with your character, and if Dead Matter has stuff like that too, which I believe they've already announced they're going to do stuff like that, right?
Yeah, they even showed a little bit of it in their second to last, I think, dev blog. A bit of the character creation screen and the occupational and perk selection and trait selection screen.
I missed it. I've been gone for too long. That's awesome.
It was pretty in depth. It looked just like Project Zomboid.
That's awesome. So yeah, if anybody is wanting to kind of get a feel for the environment, if you can handle a bird's eye view, Project Zomboid is heavily recommended. The devs would probably even recommend it to you. I know a lot of them played it, and I think Gunn actually did recommend it to me at one point. But yeah, so basically it's a bird's eye view game. The graphics aren't the best graphics you've ever seen, but the actual game mechanics are brilliant, and that's what the Dead Matter dev team has taken a lot of inspiration from, among other games like Stalker and stuff like that. We're also getting inspiration from Project Zomboid, just in the amount of detail that's going to go into the role-playing aspects of this game.
Yeah, man, exactly. I mean, Project Zomboid, they've gathered their inspiration from a few games. There's been people who obviously compare it to Project Zomboid for obvious reasons we just discussed. There's people who compare it to Escape from Tarkov a lot of times with like the gun handling, or maybe the inventory system a little bit, but not so much. I don't know. They've changed the inventory system. It doesn't look as Tarkov-ish as it did before, I don't think, but it's still similar with the grid layout. What are they've compared it to DayZ in terms of the exploration. So I mean, it's kind of like they're trying to take the best aspects of games that everybody knows and trying to put it into one game. So yeah, I think there's definitely going to be something for everybody to enjoy if they do it right.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about this a bit yesterday. I think we've gone over the current state of the game pretty well. We've already talked a lot about what we're excited about, but I mean, I guess, what are you most excited about from all the vlogs we've seen, all the updates? What I guess mechanic, or what is it that excites you the most about the game?
I think the thing that's going to excite me the most about this game is going to be... Man, there's so much. I'm trying to pick
There's a lot.
one. I'm trying to
There's
filter
a lot.
through. I would say the thing that excites me the most is going to be the immersion aspect of it. I know that's very general, but
there's a lot to talk about when it comes to immersion.
Oh my goodness. So I mean, that's the main thing for me whenever it comes to a game like this, is like the immersion factor. So the things that gets me excited in terms of immersion for Dead Matter is going to be the nutrition system and all the ingredients you can find, and the cooking utensils and supplies you can find, and the recipes you can create, the elements you can heal. In other terms of immersion, is going to be the gunfights and the threat of the zombies and the exploration. And also, the thing that gets me excited is interacting not only with other players, but with other NPCs as well, who are like quest givers, who can then give us tasks to do outside of just regularly surviving. So the goal isn't simply to survive, but it's to help out one of the many existing factions, which, by the way, all of them may not exist from server to server. It just depends on how the server ages. And so if you go and take tons of food from one area and there's other scavengers there, NPC scavengers, they may turn into cannibals because they have to feed off each other to survive because they're looking for food too. But if you go to another server and you don't decide to be a douchebag to the NPCs and you let them have some food and you don't take everything, they won't be cannibals in the equivalent situation. So I mean, there's various ways that a server can go that will just make the experience brand new from server to server. And so those are like some of the things I'm super excited about. Along with the lore, I'm really excited about the story because I like the way they set up the story. Like, it's not implicit. Like, you'll have to, it's like Project Zomboid again. You'll have to listen to the radio. You'll have to listen to final TV broadcasts, newspaper clippings, and you'll look at more low-key stories like police scanner reports or 911 calls and transcripts like that, maybe notes that you find in the master bedroom or something like that, maybe voicemails from phone calls, and you'll be able to piece together these smaller stories to create a larger image about what actually happened in Canada. And so all these things come together to create a very immersive experience that I'm really excited to get into.
Yeah, even going along that path you were just going towards, because Reggie is the big guy behind a lot of the lore stuff in the game, has said, it's going to be something that you want to pay attention to, because usually DayZ, Scum, blah, 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 they just throw you in. You're just there. I mean, there's a little story, but not really. Not like this. So he said that, if they may reward you for following along with things that are going on. So like, you're reading about a story. Say you walk into the police station, for instance, and you're reading a report, and the report says about something that happened in the basement. And then you go down to the basement, and then there's a bunch of dead people where something did happen. And then on one of the bodies, you find a key to something. And then that key leads to a safe that gives you some great weapon or something like that. So you're going to want to actually follow the lore. And personally, I'm like you. I don't, it's not about that for me, although that's going to be a really cool feature that they include with the lore. But also just the fact of getting into the environment and feeling like you're really immersed in that world, like you're not just literally just playing another game and you're thrown in, you got to go kill zombies, but there's a whole story behind it. I think that makes it super cool. But especially with the quests, like what you were talking about, is usually these games don't really have a questing system, but it sounds like, although the beginnings sound kind of rudimentary, it is something. And I really like the Nick's mentioned there's 4 or 5 different types they're probably going to have, which is collect and turn in items, which is always complimentary in questing, have conversation with some NPC character somewhere, go to a location, interact with X, so interact with some object somewhere, or kill X amount of NPCs or zombies or even players. There might be a bounty system set up, which would be really cool. Which, bringing us back to the immersion, although I don't think that all players will use this to immerse other players, I think one of the coolest, most insane features I saw in this game that really sparked my interest when I first started looking into it was the fact that you can get control of the radio tower or the radio center, and you can actually get on and broadcast your voice to other players that have radios around the map, which one can be used if you're playing serious. It can be used, for your clan to, say we're going here or we found some stuff here, and that's a really cool immersive way to use it. But I can at the same time see some guy blasting his new mixtape on it. So
it's true. I mean,
yeah,
there's probably going to be a lot of screeching 9-year-olds on there, but depending on the server you go to and the kinds of players that you come across, I mean, I've always envisioned, like there's a group, like a large group that takes over the radio station and the surrounding buildings. They build their walls, make it kind of a nice little fortress, right? And then they go to do these scavenger runs. And like we have in military and police, different radio channels do different things. One will be for the higher ups, one will be for the troops on the ground, and then one will be for like miscellaneous or something like that. And say like you can have like the head honcho who's organizing the scavenger runs or the raids going on across the map. You have like raid 1, raid 2, raid 3, and he can go ahead and get insight as to what's going on at all these different locations without having to use Discord. So even the radio stations go into immersion, just like you said, because instead of using Discord or another voice chat system, you can just use the in-game radios, supply your guys with radios, and just go from channel to channel, getting a situational report on what's going on. And if, say, you guys start getting attacked and you know you have some guys out there in the field, you can call them back real quick. And so it adds a level of depth to the game that does not exist in the same way in other games.
Right, because also then you'd be allowed the opportunity, if you're opposing them, to intercept whatever they're saying on there, or if they're saying they're moving a bunch of stuff from one location to another, like you're in a story mode of an actual game, which blows my freaking mind.
Exactly. Like what happens if you like you counter, like say there's like a group of like 5 people going on, and like the main guy will have a radio or whatever. You snipe the guy with the radio, and then the other guys are trying to get to the radio and loot his body, but you ambush them, kill them, take the radio. The main base has no idea that just happened, and then you kind of take the place of them and keep receiving orders from the main base to go to these places or deliver these goods or pick up these goods, right? So I mean,
right.
It's kind of like this goes into a different conversation of like the economy of the game, because it's so free roaming, at least in theory, and with the communications that are available to all players in terms of trading and the growing of vegetables and hunting, you could very well have your own player-run economy to a certain degree, which it won't be a true player-run economy because there will be traders in the game, but right. I think on a smaller scale, in terms of like actual just trading like items for items or items for services or things like that, you could definitely, I think we'll be seeing a lot of that.
Yeah, and that'll be absolutely brilliant too. I mean, that stuff you see like in I mean, obviously they really tried hard to do it in Fallout 76.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out very well because, like
nothing
I said,
worked
people
out
just
in Fallout 76.
nothing did.
I heard it's good now, actually.
I have heard the same things. I still have it, because I bought it when it first came out. Because I think we've talked about this before. That was the first game I ever covered on my channel. As soon as it first came out,
you should hop back on and see how it is.
So I've considered hopping back on and checking it out because I've heard some good things, but a lot of the people are still salty from how it first started out, and the launch and the lies were just terrible, and they were just really, really not up front, which I guess back to the Dead Matter team, as many things as people want to say with the pushbacks and all that stuff, I mean, they've been pretty honest with us. They've been pretty open. The fact, before we were even doing anything, the vlogs, we would get vlogs every now and then. That's all we were getting. And then maybe some goofy little Twitter posts and stuff like that. But now we're getting weekly updates. So even when it was just the vlogs, no company does that. People have to understand AAA developers don't do that. Like generally, you just get the game and you're like, well, it's Bethesda, I hope it's good. It's like, that's it. And so these guys are being super transparent. They're doing what they can. They aren't forced to meet the same deadlines, because all be all, like, Fallout 76 should have postponed. There were things that weren't where they needed to be when the game began, and they knew that. But they're a AAA developer. They have all this different stuff going on. They had to come out that day. They didn't have a choice.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not. I think everyone should be used to the delays by now. It shouldn't be surprising to anybody, especially being as we're no longer into the developers saying a few months, but a few weeks, whenever everyone's going to be able to play. Yeah, there are those who are upset that the partners will be able to get 2 weeks early, which I'm not mad at that. I'm just confused because it's like a closed alpha instead of just like a closed alpha. Like, I get the need to stress test, before you go to the public. But closed alpha, I mean, the backers are not the public. I mean,
No.
the general public is early access, so I don't think they should be treated as the general public or the general player base. These are people who have backed the game for the purpose of stress testing it, and I don't think that just because they aren't partners that they aren't going to be as good or loyal or qualified to stress test. And just because you're a content creator, aka a partner, doesn't make you more of a qualified stress tester than the next guy, I don't think. And so I'm not mad, I'm just more confused about why that part is necessary. Maybe they're trying to give a little bit more benefits to the partners as well. But I think the policy was long-standing before they brought it up again. But like I said in other conversations, the more the community grew, the more they should have reiterated what was going to happen when closed alpha came to be. Simple Twitter posts, or put it into the dev blogs like, hey, just so you guys know, partners will get first dibs. This has been the way it's always been intended to be since the conception of the idea, because now there is a fairly sizable portion of the player base who are acting like it's a big surprise, even though it's always been that way. But it just shouldn't have been as dramatic as it was, and that's the thing. I'm not saying it's the developer's fault. I'm not even saying it's the player's fault, but I'm just saying that it's just information that should be reiterated.
No, I agree. It reminds me very similar to what happened with the map way back when they kind of just, everything kind of changed really quick all at once with the map, and then they were like, oh, this is how it always was. So there are situations where stuff like that does happen. In my opinion, it's more than likely just due to miscommunication or, inability to follow up when, like you said, when there's new people added, because it may have been something that was mentioned quite a while ago, but we're growing faster and faster every day. And by us, I mean Dead Matter survivors, the people that are mega fans of this game. It's growing pretty quickly, especially as we get closer and closer to the alpha. Now, once we actually get to the alpha or the 2-week countdown or whatever, when content creators are able to start posting up actual gameplay, events, maybe questing, and all this different stuff's going to start coming out, I think that's when the community is going to grow exponentially. And then when we get towards the end of the alpha and the early access is about to come out, that's when this game is going to absolutely blow up. I have an opinion that it's probably going to blow DayZ out of the water. Not that it would have DayZ, 5-6 years ago, but today in the state that it's in, I think that it can knock DayZ out, Scum out, Deadside. I don't care. I really think that it's going to do really well. But obviously, both you and I would really like to stream this game during the closed alpha. So I want everybody to know that we're doing everything in our power to be able to bring as much content to you guys as we can. It's not about, getting ahead or, oh, I'm a partner or anything like that. We really are trying to become partners. So, we're working with the devs, and at some point it may be around the corner for us. Currently we are not, but at the time that we do, we will make sure to upload as much as we can possibly for you guys.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't care about getting the golden placard in Discord that separates me from everybody else. I just want to be partnered so that way we can continue giving good content and good information to you guys on the state of the game, which is what we've always done. And that's the whole point about wanting to be a partner. I don't care about what other benefits we have. I don't care about playing early. The only thing that I care about is gathering the information to give to everybody else to help them make a more informed decision on how the game is, or if they should purchase it if they haven't backed it yet, and more things like that. I don't want anything else to do with being a partner other than that. I just want to keep passing information. That's my whole purpose on YouTube, and that's Player 2's purpose on YouTube. So we'll see about it. I know they're redoing the partner application process I don't know what that will entail, but hopefully it will enable us to have a better chance at getting selected to be partners, to thus give you guys the quality information that you need.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. And it would be really, really cool if we're able to continue to do these podcasts no matter what. And even if we're not able to, be a part of the alpha or anything, we're planning on continuing these little podcasts, possibly every week, leading up until we start the NBA. I guess as of now, that's our current plan. So, I mean, if that's something you guys are interested in, obviously, comment below and let us know. Show some support to, if you want to see more of these, so that we can keep them coming to you. Let us know that there is actually interest in these, and we'll continue to throw them out at you.
Yeah, man, absolutely. But besides that, do you have anything else you want to talk about, man? Any final thoughts?
We talked quite a bit this time. Honestly, you guys didn't get to hear the first one because you could only hear me in the first one. But I think we got to talk about a lot more of what I actually wanted to talk about in terms of what I'm excited about in the game. And that's really what I kind of wanted to get across in this podcast anyway. So I did want to say, because originally I did ask in the other one, I let you guys know that I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where I'm, coming live from right now. And that's where I was affected by, at least my job was affected by the COVID. So I was curious, we have so many viewers and people watching and going to be playing Dead Matter with us that I was curious where everybody is playing from, So if you don't mind, if you're interested, comment below where you guys are actually going to be playing Dead Matter from, so we can get a general idea of where our audience is located.
Oh, absolutely. Because, I mean, that'll probably help us better maybe upload with the upload schedule about what time we upload videos whenever you guys are most likely able to see them, plus among other things as well. It's just nice to know who our viewer base is.
Exactly. And with that, I'm pretty good here. It's been a pleasure talking to you as always. But yeah, player 2 out.
All right, guys, until next time.